The next morning, sunlight shook a handful of gold onto my floor. The skirt on my chair looked both ordinary and not. I half expected the feelings from yesterday to blow away in the night, like dust the fan could boss around. They hadn't. They decided to be patient guests instead of storms. Maya had left a note under the ribbon, my name in her neat lettering, and underneath, 3 bullet points. Cold wash. Pillowcase. You are okay. On the dresser, she'd set the brow brush I'd seen her use 1,000 times when she was running late. Borrow this, she'd written on a sticky note. Bring back when you're on Broadway. Downstairs, our parents did weekend things. Mail coffee lists. The radio discussed the weather as if it were gossip. I poured cereal and remembered to swallow. Maya appeared, hair wet, face clean, wearing the good t-shirt she steals from me like it was hers before it was mine. She looked at me the way you look at a person you've agreed to protect with your life, but plan to annoy for sport. Morning, she said. Morning, I said. We didn't tell our parents anything right then. Not because it was a secret that would rot if it stayed inside, but because it was a seed that had just cracked open. You don't shove a new thing into bright sun and demand fruit. You check the soil, you water it, you build a little fence so it doesn't get stomped by a dog who doesn't even mean harm. That week became a private, careful experiment. Maya created office hours like a professor. Times when I could raid the dance museum under supervision, practice trying on different sweaters with different skirts. She taught me how to sit so fabric didn't fight chairs, how to stop flattening my shoulders as if smaller means safer. She showed me where the thrift store hides the good wrap skirts and how to decide if a cardigan earns its keep. She laughed kindly when I attempted winged eyeliner without permission. Ambition, she said, unwrapping a makeup wipe. We respect it. We also respect starting with chapstick. We talk the way siblings talk best. Sideways, while doing things. We compared notes on being looked at. I told her how I usually try to disappear on purpose. She told me how the stage trained her to fill space, and how hard it is to unlearn when you step off it. We shared the specific embarrassment of middle school and the relief of our mom's spaghetti after a long day. We didn't solve anything. We made it less lonely. We had one near miss. Our dad knocked on Maya's door while she was teaching me how to pin the ribbon so it didn't wander. I jumped like a cartoon cat. She called. 1 second. With the exact placement of fake cheer that didn't ask for questions. Then she hollered, We're doing a closet purge. You'll be forced to try on 17 ugly sweaters if you enter this room. He retreated, hands up. We laughed until we had to sit on the floor. On Friday, Maya asked if I wanted to go to the fabric store. We're not buying a gown, she said. Just elastic and ribbon and maybe some trim. Also, I need a replacement needle. The good kind. Not the ones that act like they resent their job. The idea of standing under fluorescent lights, where the cashiers might be bored enough to take inventory of my whole deal, made my pulse tap out the SOS rhythm. But she swore we'd be in and out. She promised we'd buy snacks after, like, we were kids with clean dentist reports. Also, she said, I need your eye. You have a gut sense of what looks like it wants to be touched. We went. The store smelled like cloth and starch, and the weird pennies and rain smell of air conditioning. We drifted past bolts of tulle and cotton, and yards of velvet that could make a person brave. I touched things without pretending to check price tags. The checkout clerk didn't look up long enough to notice our tiny rebellion. Maya bought ribbon the exact color of the grape skirt. When we stopped for snacks, Maya slid a pack of tissues onto the counter with the chips. For makeup wipes, she said when I raised an eyebrow. And for tears if you ever want to have them where no one can see. School would start soon. The parking lot of summer would fill with cars again. People would ask the usual questions in the hallways, and I would answer the usual answers. But under that was this. A skirt on my chair that made the morning feel like it belonged to me. A brow brush on the dresser with a sticky note invitation. A ribbon knot I could tie without thinking. I don't know what to call what I found in Maya's closet. Crossdressing is a word that fits some people and doesn't fit others. It feels like a coat you borrow because the night is colder than you expected. Transgender is a word like a city. Beautiful, complicated, real. One I might be headed toward, might already be in without knowing which neighborhood is mine. Mostly, right then, it felt like learning a language my mouth had always wanted to try. Vowels softer, consonants placed with care. It felt like magic tricks I expected to be disappointed by and wasn't. At the end of July, I came home from the library to find a small box on my bed. Inside, a new black wrap skirt. Not from the museum. Not a relic. A note in Maya's big, confident printing. Yours. Club of 2 perks. P.S. Cold wash. Pillowcase. You're still okay. I pressed the fabric to my face, because that's a thing you do even though it smells like a department store and not like anything meaningful yet. Then I tied it around my hips, and it answered like a friend who already knows your stories and doesn't mind hearing them again. After dinner, Maya knocked on my door and didn't wait for me to say come in. She leaned on the frame, one foot crossed over the other, holding another shoebox in 2 hands. Found this, she said, and set it on my bed. Inside, a compact mirror, not cracked. A tiny palette with sensible colors. 1 brush. A tube of the most boring, most forgiving lip tint in existence. Training wheels, she said. I picked up the lip tint. What if I look stupid? You will, she said cheerfully. Sometimes, like everyone learning anything. Then you will look less stupid. And then one day you'll look in the mirror and not flinch. And then you'll have days you flinch again. We keep tissues and snacks for all of it. I laughed, and it didn't choke me on the way out. Thanks, I said. The word didn't feel big enough. Membership has obligations, too, she added, and her tone went faux stern again. Occasional closet cleanouts, honest feedback about what looks good on me, even if it's no, burn that. And if I ever ask you to zip me up and you say later, I get to steal your hoodie without warning. Deal, I said. And then, because the story of the week deserved a line that we could say in years when we needed to remember it, I added, Club of 2, right? Club of 2, she said, holding out her hand like a pact. We shook on it like dramatic children. That night, after the house went to sleep, I stood in front of the mirror and put on the skirt that was mine and brushed my brows with the tool she'd given me and used the lip tint extremely conservatively, like I was a person whose mouth already had enough to say. The reflection wasn't a stranger. It was a familiar face that had finally stopped bracing. Maya had caught me in her attic closet, and nothing had broken. Something had opened instead. There are days now when I think of that ladder and the box and the ribbon, and imagine a version of the story where she walked in and scoffed or shouted or shrugged it off as a joke. That version would have closed the door for good. The one we got opened so quietly, I almost missed the moment the hinge moved. Towards the end of summer, our mom knocked on my door one afternoon, arms full of laundry. Maya was on my bed, mending a seam that had decided it was tired of being a seam. I had the grape skirt on and a t-shirt, a combination we'd decided was legal. Mom looked up and down the length of me with her standard tired kindness. Work had been work, and said, "Can you two fold those towels while I jump on this call?" She didn't blink at the skirt. Or maybe she did, but she put the blink somewhere private where it could consider whether blinking was necessary. She put the towels down and kissed, both our heads, in that distracted, precise way she has, and left. I folded towels, in a rectangle, the way she taught us. Maya tied off her thread and snipped it with her teeth. We didn't say anything for a minute. Then Maya grinned sideways at me. "Club of 3 someday, maybe." "Maybe," I said, and felt the not-afraid version of later settle into my bones like a good chair. On the last night of August, I stood in the hallway mirror in the outfit I'd picked for the first day of school. Jeans, a new button-down that didn't fight my wrists, a bracelet I'd chosen because it reminded me of ribbon but wouldn't invite the world's commentary. I tucked a small pouch into my backpack. Brow brush, lip tint, a tissue, not for emergencies, for normal. Maya walked past, stopped, and adjusted my collar with 2 practiced fingers. "You look like you," she said, and that's all I'd been trying to do. When the bus hissed to a stop and the doors folded open, I climbed on and took a seat and watched my reflection in the dark window glass. The person looking back wasn't finished. People aren't. But he, whoever I was in that exact moment, looked steady enough to trust. I didn't know what I would call myself 2 months from then, or 2 years from now. I knew the chores in the house. Cold wash, pillowcase. I knew the rhythm of tying a bow with a ribbon that had learned my hands. I knew that a skirt on a chair could make a room look like it had been waiting for me. And I knew this. When my sister opened the door, her reaction changed everything. Not by declaring a new world, but by making room in the old one. By saying, okay, and meaning it in that plain, complicated, generous way that holds a whole life inside. We know that being transgender can be a difficult journey, and we want to do our part to make it a little bit easier. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to our channel. It would mean the world to us. This will help us continue to create content that is helpful and supportive for the community. Thank you again for watching, and we hope to see you next time.